Hi there, I'm Nick from vireengines.com, and today I'm just going to do the short version video of how to fit an impeller on a Vire 7 or 12. These are rubber impellers, so I won't talk too much, but we've got a sequence of parts here. I'll just show you what I've got laid out. So you've obviously got your impeller, and the sequence is this. You've cleaned off the back, got all this nicely done, and first of all you're going to put on a gasket between the casting and the back plate. Then you're going to put the back plate on with the beveled edge down. You've cleaned that up. Then you're going to put the wood rough key, if you have taken it out, back into the shaft. I'll leave that there for now. Then you need a second gasket which goes between the two brass pieces. Then you will push on your impeller, and then finally you will put on the outer housing, which you'll twist on, and then you'll secure it with 3 bolts. And if you've still got the flange on, which I've removed here, this is like the drive flange which would normally be on this engine, but I'm rebuilding this. Is actually a concourse model, special order for a customer, but a nice one to show you. I've removed this. It's going to make the video a bit easier to watch. And they do the 3 screws down. So that's the sequence quickly. Now I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's just put this down. Obviously use gasket glue on the gaskets. So let's take this sequence off again. Right, now I'm not going to rush this. I hope it goes smoothly, but let's just see how it goes. So this is 2 minutes in. First job. This is grease tolerant. This particular stuff is lovely. It doesn't set, high Lamar, but you want to put it where the gasket is. If you've got a very corroded surface, you want to clean it up, and if you can't, I suggest you make your own thicker base gasket to take out the irregularities that you have got in a corroded casting. I've got a perfectly prepared flat surface here, so I can use one of these. I make these myself, by the way, these special gaskets. There's no issue there. It doesn't matter about the thickness of this gasket too much, but it does between the 2 brass pieces, so watch out. Now obviously when you're doing this in a boat, gravity is going to take everything down this way, and so you always have a rag underneath to catch anything that you drop, particularly that little wood rough key. So that is stage 1. The gasket, base gasket, I would say put down. There's a little notch in these to show you which way is down. They'll only fit the 3 holes in one way, and you can see there's white grease I've put on the seal lips, which gives it a longer life. So just finger spread. You don't want this oozing in to the water cavity when you tighten it up. Anything aft of that final seal is in the water cavity effectively. So sometimes these have a little notch which has been worked or cut in them, so that you can get them off with the wood rough key still in the shaft. This one isn't. It's like a perfectly original new, and I've cleaned that up with a Dremel, make it nice and flat, and you can polish these. So now we're ready for our second gasket. I don't want to get a lot of gasket glue in this cavity particularly, so I'm going to actually stick onto the gasket one side instead of sticking it onto the brass, and the reason for that is I can make a nice even spread with my finger on just one side all over, and not getting gasket glue on the other side. And if there's any overspill in this central area, I can take it out with my finger now without doing it. So that's ready to go on. Sticky side down. My little cutout, you'll see this little indent at the bottom goes down. That's straight on. You only get these gaskets from me. This is a critical thickness, this gasket. If you don't get the thickness of this gasket right, you can end up with too much gap between the impeller and the rear housing, which of course leaks and you'll get loss of pressure. Or if you don't use a gasket or it's too thin, what will happen is your impeller will rub inside the casing and wear out. Right, next we've got this tiny little wood rough key. These have to be stainless steel or they rot out in any kind of salt water. So, they're quite a fiddly thing to get in, and I like to start them with my big fingers. I've got a pair of long nose pliers here, or you could use tweezers. Get ready to catch this if it drops out. Just start it in there, and then to finish it off square, rather than use a hammer, I like these pump pliers because they give a nice even squeeze and it ends up flat. There we go. So I know that is fully in and almost perfectly flat. Let's just get that squeezed in. I want to make sure that that is, there you go. Right, that is now parallel with the shaft, otherwise it would catch. So next you have the impeller. Line up the slot with the key you've just put in. Should be either a loose fit or a firm fit. That's perfect. If it's very stiff, have a look at what's going on. It may be that your shaft has got a bit rough on the end, or you've got a bore which needs cleaning out, but it should be a firm or loose fit onto the shaft. Okay, next we have the housing, which you can see I polished this up using Dremels and stuff.